Hello, 8th graders. I want you to start by pausing this video and checking your homework, making sure you got all of these questions correct. Yesterday, we spent a lot of time combining like terms and distributing, and I want to make sure that you have that set before we move forward. Next, we are going to open up your toolkit, and in your toolkit, you need to write these things down. So, evaluating expressions. Find the space for evaluating expressions. So when we evaluate expressions, we are going to replace the variables with their values in the expression. So basically you're replacing the letter with the number in your expression in the equation. And then we're going to simplify using order of operations. So for example, if you have 4x minus 10 equals an x equals 7, we're going to take this x and we're going to place it in over here, which becomes 4 times 7 minus 10. So if I work that out, I get 4 times 7, which is 28, minus 10 gives me 18. Moving back to the other one. Notice that this little semicolon right here separates all of my terms, okay? The A is going to replace with the 5, so I'm just going to go ahead and write those on top. And the B is going to replace with a negative 1. Now, order of operations tells me I need to solve my parentheses first. So if I do that, I actually have 5 minus a negative 1, which gives me 6. So I now have 6 times 5 divided by 6. Well, multiplying and dividing, as you know, works from left to right. So I have to do 6 times 5 first, then I divide by 6. So 30 divided by 6 gives me 5. Okay, now we are moving to your green packet. Once you are in your green packet, again, I'm just going to circle that 9 and move it on in. So I get 3 times 9, which would be 27. You should keep in mind that when you write things out on your test, like 3 times 9 right here, okay, that helps me see what you're showing, like you're showing all your work. So even if you would get 3 times 9 equals, I don't know, 37, I can see that you wrote it out and then you just got the problem wrong. Okay, so make sure that you show all of your work. Next, this negative 7 goes here. So I have 4 times a negative 7 minus 10. Order of operations tells me I have to do my multiplication first. So 4 times a negative 7 is a negative 28 minus 10. You can leave it like this and then solve these two, or you can go plus a negative that way as well. And I get a negative 38. Put a little box around that 2. Your 2 is going to go in here. So I'm going to get 14 minus 3 times 2 plus 1. Again, order of operations, I do parentheses first. I now have 14 minus 3 times 3. Notice that I'm rewriting everything. You need to make sure you're taking the time to rewrite things and refocus. Now I need to multiply first. So I have 14 minus 9, and 14 minus 5 is, 14 minus 9 is 5. Right? I've got a negative 5. This one's a little tricky because you have a negative 5, which we've talked about before because it's the opposite of negative 5, which is just a positive 5. This is all coming back. Now we're doing some absolute value. And so I've got the absolute value of a negative 4 plus 9. Well, the absolute value of a negative 4 is you're right, positive 4. Plus 9 is 13. This one gets a little tricky. The 3 moves in here. So I've got 3 to the 3rd power minus 5 and then divided by 4. I have to do order of operations first. So 3 to the 3rd power is going to be 27. 27 minus 5 is in parentheses, so that's going to be the next thing I do. 27 minus 5 is 22. And then 22 divided by 4, uh-oh, that doesn't work out even. But it's going to be 5.5 or 5.5. Next one. I'm going to take that 8 and I'm going to plug it in over here. So I have 1 plus x divided by 2 squared. Oops, I should have changed that to an 8. I'm going to do my 2 squared first because order of operations tells me to do that. And now I need to divide. So I'm going to have 1 plus 8 divided by 4 gives me 2. 1 plus 2 is 3. Take your 5, plug it in. 7 times 4 minus 5 plus 3. Order of operations tells me I need to do parentheses first. I'm going to take 7 times a negative 1 plus 3. 7 times a negative 1 gives me a negative 7 plus 3 gives me a negative 4. I'm going to take this negative 2 and plug it in here. Ooh, this one's going to be a little bit tricky. Negative 2 squared minus 5. Okay, so I need to do what's inside my absolute value first, but I need to solve this negative 2 squared. So this actually becomes a negative 2 times a negative 2, which is a positive 4. 4 minus 5 gives me a negative 1. So the absolute value of a negative 1 is actually a positive 1. So 4 plus 1 is 5. Now this one gives me variables. It gives me 2 of them up here at the top. Okay, I've got my A and my B. And I'm going to do 0.5, and instead of A, I'm going to write 12. And instead of B, I'm going to write a negative 6. It's going to be important for you to go through and do each one of those. Now remember, we can use a calculator. So I'm going to take 0.5 times 12, and then that's just going to give me 6. And then 6 times a negative 6 is going to give me a negative 36. Again, make sure you're lining up the letters correctly. So B is my negative 6, A is my 12, and then my minus 6. Order of operations says I have to do parentheses first. So I do a negative 6 times 12 minus 6, which is 6, which again is a negative 36. And finally, 6 times A, and so A is 12, over A minus B. So that's going to be 12 minus a negative 6. So remember, we solved these both separately. So 6 times 12 is going to give me 72 over, and I'm going to add that. So 12 plus 16 is going to be 18. Now what I need to do is divide. And if I use my calculator, 72 divided by 18 is 4. All right, 3 more. Again, I'm going to go ahead and plug these in. So I have my B, which would be my negative 6 over 2, minus A, which would be 12 plus 1. I cannot emphasize enough how important it is to write things down. All right, order of operations says I do this first. So that's 13, okay? And I can go ahead and divide because technically this is like a whole parentheses here anyway as well. So a negative 6 divided by 2 is going to be a negative 3. A negative 3 minus 13 is a negative 16. And now if I plug in my B, so I have the absolute value of 1 plus a negative 6, and then A would be minus 12. Well, I need to do this guy first, so that would be the absolute value of negative 5, and the absolute value of negative 5 is a positive 5. 5 minus 12 gives me a negative 7, or 5 plus a negative 12, if you like that instead. And finally, my last one, A is 12 times 3, or plus 3 times a negative 6, and then plus 4. Ooh, okay. Order of operations says I need to multiply first. So I've got 12. 3 times a negative 6 gives me a negative 18. So I could put plus a negative 18, but I prefer just to do minus 18 plus 4. Now I have just addition and subtraction, so remember I have to work from left to right. So 12 minus 18 gives me a negative 6 plus 4, and I like to rewrite that just so I can see it. And then I get a negative 2. Okay, now turn the page in your packet. What you have here is you are going to evaluate your expressions, and then when you finish, you're going to use the solutions to color the picture above it, depending on the shade. So you're going to do that next for about 10 minutes. When you are done with that, you are going to go ahead and go to Google Classroom. In Google Classroom, I have posted a Kahoot, and this Kahoot you can work through. And then there is your Google form for homework. Again, remember you should probably finish everything in class. So please make sure you're using your time wisely, staying focused, and working. Have a great day.